Hey guys, this will be a review of Ephemeron by -0 for the TeamLiquid Map Contest 12 standard category submission. This is one of the, again, just like the previous map, bandwidth by the music. This is another very serious contender that was a serious contender for the standard category, and you can more or less see why I always tell you guys that the standard category is so generally super stacked, and just a couple decimal points can just mean just getting in or just not being able to make the cut. It is a very serious contender for all of this. This is one of the maps that a type of map that we haven't seen all that much of in the last TeamLiquid Map contests, and that is a standard map with a single third base. In the past, Ephemeron used to have its third base in the high ground, and that was a considerable issue because if your opponent managed to get in there and block your access to that high ground, it was basically game over. And that is also why it is usually advocated to have at least 2 third bases, but nowadays this is a very good example of it not being necessary, especially after the modifications of making the third bases into the middle ground. When it comes into the layout itself, Ephemeron has let me zoom out a little bit. It has some very interesting choices, especially in the center with the 3 bridges, and around the edges as well. It is a very superhuman design, but obviously mixed with all of the ideas that -0 has had in the past with bridges, for example in Apotheosis. So hopefully we can see not maybe the biggest failure of Apotheosis wasn't the layout itself, it was just the distances between the players. In this case, the distances probably won't be a problem, or at least so it will be that maybe the attack path it is overly direct besides the central bridges. So hopefully that is not that much of a problem or a concern for the development team at Blizzard. When it comes to this, the map itself, it is another one of those very much standard ones that just you don't have many key points other than maybe some structural ideas that at which point -0 won't be all too happy if I say that maybe the map maybe the third will benefit from being in the low ground instead of the middle ground, and that is because that's not a change that we can do nowadays, especially in this stage of the TeamLiquid Map contest. Oh wow, I hadn't seen this section. Yikes. Look at that cliffing. Come on. One thing that we need to take care of is the fact that when this is so picky, because when casters are in WCS and they, for example, zoom out the camera, it is generally recommended for all of this area around the edges of the map to be filled with doodads as well, in order to avoid, for example, this area and this problem with the cliffs becoming overly visual, especially being broadcasted into the WCS. In the past I've seen many of you guys just forgetting to do that, and that is no. When it comes to the layout itself, the position of the geysers in the main and natural base, it is perfect. Obviously there is 3 geysers, so that is just the amount necessary for Zerg to, for example, being able to scout them in CVP, CVT, or CVC especially, in order to avoid, for example, getting absolutely crushed by aliens, unexpected aliens. When it comes to this, a big problem that big on quotes problem that the map had, and I'm not sure if negative can tell even, is that I modified this small little high ground area in order to make it more visually distinctive and instantly recognizable that there is a high ground in here and what the outline of the high ground is. Because at least in my case, I have lost some overlords because of your freaking high grounds, guys. So please delimit, make the outline of the high ground more recognizable when you are like adding doodads on top of it. Don't just go ham on it, because otherwise the players can't identify exactly where the high ground ends and begins, and then they lose some mobbies because of that, and you don't want that happening in a tournament setting. So in this case, another fix for that, watch out, is to maybe add like invisible line of sight blockers. And for newer map makers that are seeing this, you just need to type in here, and there you have them, invisible line of sight blockers. You can then press shift in order to make them not clamp to the grid itself, and you can just place them around this area. You just need to make sure that the entire area where the invisible line of sight blockers are, it's fully unpathable, because if it isn't, then if a unit tries to get in there, all of this line of sight blockers will become like visible, and it will become a problem. When it comes to this, you can see that Negative Zero tried to do a similar thing here by adding like standard line of sight blockers, but it is still like it just wasn't enough, especially like around this area. I'm not sure if you guys can tell very well, but this doodad specifically was considerably higher, and I just lowered it considerably in order to like fix that issue. When it comes to this area, one concern that I personally have is that maybe an attack with like siege units in this position might be like slightly overly strong. I don't think that it is a problem, overly so, but I think that it is something that, for example, in TBC we might see, for example, if the map makes it to ladder, we might see like some big pushes in here with siege tanks and just being like all around nasty, or maybe like in PvT, because it is a strong position, maybe with lurkers as well. When it comes to the rest of the map, what else? There is really not much. This usage of rocks, I think, is very well done. So oof, sneezing. This position of the diagonal 2000 HP rocks, I think it's very well done. I'm always a sucker for using like 2 6x6 ones, but for that position I don't think that is strictly necessary. It could be like cool, it could be like interesting kind of, because any push that comes from the natural and goes directly in here can strive to attack the third instantly, basically. But and creating like two sets of 6x6 rocks could like slow it down slightly, but it's like it's up in the air. It is really a stylistic choice. When it comes to the rest of the map, feedback for this, there is really not much. This is exactly what I mean in the past regarding mentioning the fact that they are not easily recognizable. Maybe around here, if you place like an overlord around here, you might think that it is in the high ground, or around here, and it isn't. So yeah, something to be careful of. I think that's basically it. There's not much feedback. Avex or maybe me, I don't remember who fixed them. But one thing that Meavis had been mentioning in the past is that wherever we are using this type of cliffing, it is generally good to do this, to just block the very edge with like pathing paint, in order to avoid, for example, SCVs, or, well, it only happens to Terran, okay? So yeah, SCVs getting blocked in there, getting stuck. In here there is a small river jump pad. Other concern might be the Blink Stalker comeback. Now I'm talking about this after the rollback of the Blink cost buff for Protoss, and I don't think that it will be like much of a problem, but still something. We are like not fully outside of the risk area regarding this, especially for a map such as this one. So something to still keep an eye on for the guys that are like trying to develop new maps. Maybe to still like be watchful of those situations. Very good usage of the biodome, of course. And I think that's basically it, guys. That is the very like there is not much to say like for some of the standard maps, because they are like seriously well executed. But yeah, this has been everything for Ephemeron by -0 of the standard category for the TeamLiquid Contest 12. See you guys in the next one.